Thanks all of you for coming here today. I welcome you to the unveiling of the World War I memorial here at Memorial Grove at Green Hill Park. I'm really honored to be joined here by city officials and other officials such as Congressman McGovern, and also members of the public that have been of great importance to this memorial, and that's why we're here today. To start the ceremony, I'd like to begin by calling for the Worcester Marine Corps League to post the colors. Thank you. I now would like to welcome Evelyn Rose, who will be singing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Evelyn. Now I'd like to introduce Deacon Jack Franchi, U.S. Air Force retired Senior Master Chief, member of Anna Maria College, for the invocation.
Thank you, Alex. Let us pray. God our Father, we gather here on this Veterans Day as a community caring in a world filled with loss, hurricane, fire, earthquake, domestic, acts of terror. Yet we are here as a community which draws us together, that community of caring, compassion, love of our military, honoring those who have served in World War I, in all wars, our veterans, this Veterans Day. We are here honoring those who have given much and those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Watch over all who have served this great community of Worcester, Massachusetts, this great Commonwealth, this great nation. In recognition of their loyal service to our nation, bless them with wholeness and your love. Shelter them, heal their wounds, comfort their hearts, grant those that have passed eternal happiness and peace, those that are still with us today, a deep and abiding comfort. Each of them are good men and women. God of justice and truth, rock our lives, bless our veterans past and present, these men and women of courage and valor, with a deep and abiding understanding of our profound gratitude. Protect them and their families from loneliness and want as they have protected us. Grant them lives of joy and bounty. May their dedication and honor be remembered as a blessing from generation to generation. And bless our leaders gathered here today, and locally and state and national, and our military gathered here today. Continue to instill in them the wisdom to do what is right. And finally, blessed are you, O Lord, our protector and redeemer, our shield and our stronghold. Amen.
Thank you, Deacon. I'd now like to welcome Congressman Jim McGovern.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you for the incredible leadership that you have demonstrated for the city. And I'm honored to be here with my colleagues in government, members of the community, but in particular with many of our veterans. Thank you so much for your commitment to this country. It really is an honor to be here for the rededication of the World War I Memorial Grove here at Green Hill Park. As we celebrate Veterans Day and honor all of those who have served our country, it is important to remember that November 11th was first known as Armistice Day, marking the end of the Great War, which we now know as World War I. It wasn't just one of the deadliest wars in our nation's history. It confronted our troops with new challenges that the world had never seen before. Many referred to it as the first modern war, with tanks and machine guns being introduced at a massive scale. Soldiers experienced the grueling realities of trench warfare, as well as the introduction of aerial combat. They saw the first widespread use of chemical and biological weapons, including chlorine gas and mustard gas, weapons so toxic that the Geneva Protocols were established to prohibit their future use. These are just a handful of the challenges that the brave men and women we are honoring here today had to endure. World War I saw over 100,000 American men and women of all races and religions die while fighting to protect our country, including over 300 from Worcester. As we gather here today, just over 100 years after the end of the war, I'm proud to join all of you for the rededication of the World War I Memorial Grove and honor Worcester's brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice. Although the last American veteran for World War I passed away in 2011, we must never forget these brave veterans for their service, their sacrifice, and for everything they did for our country. And just finally, Worcester is really a special place. And what we are here today dedicating or rededicating is an example of that. As the city manager was explaining to me, and he will probably thank everybody who was involved, this is a community effort. And all kinds of members of our community were involved in the establishment of this memorial. And it makes me feel proud to be part of this community, a community that not only honors our veterans, but never, ever, ever forgets their service. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And again, thank you, Alex, for giving me an opportunity to say a few words.
I'd now like to welcome Mayor Joseph Petty.
Thank you, Alex, and good morning, everyone, and welcome. I just want to recognize our Marine Corps League who's with us today in every event, every year, so thank you for being here. I want to also recognize some of our colleagues in government. We have City Councilor Sean Rose, City Councilor Matt Wally, City Councilor Don Coroyo, City Councilor Merrill Carlson, and we have City Councilor Christian King and City Councilor Kate Toomey and City Councilor Mo Bergman, along with school committee members Laura Clancy and Tracy Novick, and State Representative Dan Donahue and David LaBeouf. I think I got everybody. But again, welcome. And Evelyn Rose, wonderful job on the national anthem. Okay. We're here today to rededicate the World War I Memorial Grove. 92 years ago today, in 1928, a monument was established here at Green Hill Park. A tree with a brass plaque was planted for every man and woman who died in service to their country. Today, we're dedicating a new memorial, one that was built and designed in collaboration with Professor Stephen Van Dessel of Worcester Polytech Institute, Bill Wallace and Bob Stacy from the Worcester Historical Museum, Brian McCarthy from the Green Hill Park Coalition, the Worcester Tree Initiative, and of course our Parks Department, Rob Antonelli. And I special thanks to the city manager and working with the council, really doing all our memorials over. And I think we've done a wonderful job. And we're pretty proud of what we do here in the city of Worcester. The names you see on the metal posts of the memorial were once attached on trees of this memorial grove. These names were once young men and women who joined up, enlisted, and boarded a train at Union Station on the start of a journey that would end in Europe. When the United States declared war in 1917, Worcester had a long and proud record of defending a nation in a time of crisis. Worcester's militia units became part of the National Army. The Emmett Guards became Company H of the 101st Infantry Regiment, while the City Guards, Worcester Light Infantry, and the Wellington Rifles became Companies A, C, and H of the 104th Regiment. Two new units composed of men from Worcester were designated as Batteries B, E of the 102nd Field Artillery. These Worcester units would be incorporated into the 26th Infantry Yankee Division, comprising units from all over New England. They were not the only ones that served. Men from Worcester that did not serve in New England's 26th Division eventually served in every division the Army sent to France. Some became members of the newly formed Army Air Corps. Others joined the Marines, fighting places like Belleau Wood in the Oregon Forest. Additionally, several served in the Navy, sometimes on destroyers chasing German U-boats, or as gunners on merchant ships to defend those ships against underwater attack. World War I, in many ways, is a war that is often forgotten in America. It is overshadowed by the greatest generation and seeming moral clarity of World War II. That story has been told and retold over and over again, lionized in ways that the veterans and actions of World War I have never been treated by film or fiction. The machinery and instruments of war, the biplane, the Zeppelin, seem somehow comical compared to the U-boat wolf packs and the Spitfires of World War II. Even the names of those involved seem like something out of the age of the Middle Ages, the Ottomans, the Crimean Republic, Somali dervish movement. Any memory of the Verdun was wiped out clear by the epic blast of the atomic age by a bomb named Little Boy. It is telling me that the original Memorial Grove has fallen into disrepair and the plaques on every tree have been removed by the 1960s. Even prior generations seem to lose the memory of World War I, even as some of its veterans were still living. Today, the name of Kelly is more associated with Kelly Square than young men's heroics during World War I. Our city is covered in the city squares named for World War I veterans. Then we have the Worcester Auditorium and the Whispering Wall at Lincoln Square. Both have prominent places in our city. But there are many reasons for the cultural amnesia, the convoluted roots of conflict, the heady boom of the 1920s that followed, and perhaps that World War I is seen as a precursor to World War II, a preamble or overture to the real style of the American century. Indeed, many major players of World War II first saw action in World War I. There are so many moving pieces to World War I, surrounded by the white noise of rebellion and revolutions. The revolutions that followed were sometimes more deadly than war itself. Much of this has been lost over time. The horrors of Gallipoli and some seem somehow quaint in black and white films compared to the technicolor violence of D-Day and Guadalcanal. Yet the numbers of the Great War are staggering. Serbia lost a staggering 850,000 civilians during the war, a quarter of its pre-war population. The 1917 Battle of Mezin in Belgium saw one of the largest non-nuclear explosions of all time. British tunnel units planted 24 mines under the German lines. At 3:10 a.m. on June 7th, 20 mines were set off in the space of 20 seconds, instantly killing an estimated 10,000 German soldiers. That noise could be heard in London as far away as Dublin. While we remember the stories of Christmas Day truce between Germans and British troops who shared brandy and cigarettes and even played soccer in no man's land among the artillery craters and barbed wire, we forget the true hatred and the violence of war. On the day of the planned armistice, the British and the American artillery fired the final barrage of rounds into the German trenches, timed to land at the exact time of the truce, at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. That it was called the war to end all wars was hopeful. The hope was that horrors visited upon each other were so unspeakable and unimaginable that never again would we take up arms against each other in such a grotesque manner. the mustard and chlorine gas, the machine gun, the introduction of the tank, and the first time post-traumatic stress disorder that was diagnosed as shell shock. We are a century away from those horrible events, yet chemical weapons, the violence of gun violence, and the PTSD are still with us, revisited on every generation of young men and women called to defend our nation. That death tolls and the suffering would burn an indelible mark on the collective memories and so bring the world to a greater level of cooperation and peace was foolhardy sentiment. Whether it was to be Woodrow Wilson's crowning achievement, the League of Nations, never materialized. We need memorials like this to ensure that we remember today and the future generations do not forget the horrors of war. We cannot forget the lessons we learned, and we must push through the fog of the world's event to remember all the great wars taught our country and our world. We stand here today, 101 years since the Armistice. Let us rededicate ourselves to preserving the memory of the Great War and all the forgotten histories in our country that they be informed for us in the future. I'm reminded of the quote by Ernest Hemingway, the preeminent writer of the era who in World War I epic novel, A Farewell Arms, said, "The world breaks for everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places." Thank you, and enjoy your Veterans Day today. And to all the veterans, thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would now like to welcome Councilor Candy Merrill Carson to speak.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm humbled to be here today for this unveiling of the World War I Memorial and to honor our veterans in our community here. It's difficult to express the amount of gratitude our community has for you and all of the sacrifices you and your families have made for our nation. So I'll put it simply, thank you. Thank you for what you have done. As a city, as a nation, one of the most important things we can do is remind ourselves that we owe our freedom to those who defend it. The World War I Memorial, and later we'll see the Vietnam Memorial, are beautiful reminders of this. I hope that the families who come to Green Hill Park to enjoy a beautiful day take time to explain the importance of remembering and honoring our veterans each and every day, not just on Veterans Day. Again, a special thank you for your service, and I hope next year we can all celebrate this in person. I want to give a huge shout out to our Parks Department, to Rob Antonelli, and certainly I'd be remiss if I didn't give a special shout out to Brian McCarthy and all of the folks who made this happen. And for this city and for my colleagues, and I know for the city manager, one of the things that's so important to us as a city is all these memorials. So happy Veterans Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I'd now like to welcome to the podium Councilor Rose.
Thank you, Alex. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us here today as we honor our veterans and we unveil the World War I Memorial. I'm here today in two capacities, the first being the chair of Veterans Memorials, Parks and Recreation, and the second is the brother of two veterans. My family knows what it's like to have someone put on a uniform and protect our freedoms. I'm thankful every day for my two brothers and for all the other men and women who have made the heroic choice to join the armed forces. As my colleagues and friends have already stated, thank you. Thank you so much for defending our freedoms. I want to acknowledge the team here that made sure this memorial was possible, including Alex Arriaga, a veteran service, Rob Antonelli of Parks and Recreation. It's so important our city honors the veterans community with memorials like this. Spaces like this remind us to reflect and think about some of the sacrifices our fellow Americans have made for us. I'm hopeful next year that we can gather here again with a larger crowd and put this difficult year behind us. And even though we may not have the crowd we are used to here today, please know that the Worcester community, here and at home, are grateful for your service. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Councilor Rose. I'd now like to welcome to the podium Mr. Brian McCarthy.
Good morning. I'd like to begin by thanking every veteran in the crowd for your service. I am deeply in debt to you for your service over the years. You made a lot of self-sacrifices, and I deeply appreciate it. Thank you. It was 102 years ago that a treaty brought World War I to a close. A ceasefire, an armistice, was called to begin on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. It was this armistice that fostered the growth of a day known as Remembrance Day in many parts of the world. We now call this Veterans Day in our country. Henry Gunther was a Baltimore citizen, and he was the last military member to die just before the ceasefire on 10:59 a.m. Between 3,000 and 11,000, depending upon which book you read, died that last day before the armistice. In 1938, Congress declared that November 11th would forever be celebrated as a national holiday and would be called Armistice Day to honor the military people who died in World War I. World War II, unfortunately, followed too soon, lasting from 1941 to 1945. Millions more were killed around the world. The Korean War followed World War II in 1950, ending in 1953. In 1954, President Eisenhower wrote a proclamation changing the name of Armistice Day to Veterans Day to honor the dead from all wars, not just World War I. To remember our Worcester residents, referred to as the honored dead, who died serving this country, American Legion Post 5 installed Memorial Grove in 1928. As the mayor said, there was a maple tree planted for each soldier who died with a brass name tag, and all these name tags have unfortunately disappeared back in the 60s. For many years, this grove was very active, honoring the veterans. But as the World War I veterans died, interest in the grove fell off. It fell into abuse, misuse, and disrepair. It was actually transformed into a Shakespearean theater back in the 1970s, right where we're standing. 6 to 7 years ago, the Green Hill Park Coalition decided that we needed to honor the fallen soldiers of this city by restoring this grove. We could not let the 100th anniversary of the end of such a tragic war pass without first restoring this memorial. We began by researching the history of the grove and the names of the fallen. We located 5 gold star lists, and none of them agreed with the other. The Military Archives Gold Star list in Concord totaled 283 military members. But when all 5 lists were combined, there were 379 fallen military and civilians from Worcester. These people were killed in action. They died of wounds, accidents, poison gas, suicides, and yes, the dreaded Spanish H1N1 flu. 379 posts in this memorial have the names of these people engraved in steel, thanks to the staff and students of Worcester Technical High School. With the help of many, many volunteers, including the Worcester Tree Initiative, we replaced over 140 of the trees that died over the last 90 years. With the help of Professor Stephen Von Dessel of WPI, a new ceremonial place, which is where we're standing, was designed, and I think it's beautiful and very fitting for World War I tribute. With the leadership of City Manager Ed Augustus, he found the funding for this project, and he pushed the design, the construction, and the completion ahead. And here we are today in Green Hill Park in Worcester, Massachusetts, with a reimagined memorial that is arguably the largest and finest in the nation. A memorial that was amongst the first in the nation to be recognized by the United States World War I Centennial Commission. I am very humbled to stand here on this day to honor the veterans of all wars, but specifically to remember the citizens of Worcester who made the supreme sacrifice in World War I. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy, for your kind words. And now I'd like to welcome to the podium Worcester City Manager Edward M. Augustus.
Thank you, Alex. First and foremost, I want to say to all of our veterans who are here, thank you for your service to our country. We can never say that too often. Secondly, I'd like to just acknowledge the Parks Department staff, and if those guys could just raise their hand, if we could give them a round of applause. All the team from, come on, Caesar, raise your hand. Those are the team of folks who are very much responsible for putting this together. We had a lot of challenges executing on this, but we finally got here, and I think it was worth the wait, and we really appreciate them for all their hard work. Passing through the arch that announces Memorial Grove and listening to the crunching of crushed stones underfoot along a path, framing a rolling green hill to the left and to the right, I'm struck by the stark contrast to the surroundings of our heroes in World War I. They crouched in trenches and slogged through thick, deep mud for days at a time. Our American heroes found shelter during battle behind the crumbling walls of wrecked buildings. They tasted the bitterest tastes of war in the battles at Bellewood Woods, St. Malo, and Argonon. This was a war unlike any that had preceded it. Our soldiers did not have to wait until they saw the whites of their eyes. A truly impersonal war, old-fashioned fighting strategies collided with new technologies. Soldiers scrambled from trenches with bayonets and grenades, often mowed down by automatic gunfire. It was said to be the war to end all wars. We know, of course, that was not true. What has stood the test of time is the courage shown by the men and women of World War I, by all our veterans. It is our duty to honor and remember them, to never forget. Today, the 102nd anniversary of the signing of the armistice, we dedicate this magnificent memorial. A circle of 472 solid weathered steel rods that seem to reach toward the heavens, where our soldiers now rest in peace. They bear the names of 379 Worcester souls lost in the war, and they will stand tall for future generations to come and gather in solemn remembrance and thanks. We thank veterans like Cornelius Kelly, Private John Brosnan, and Private Joseph Grabowski. All three men died within 3 days of each other. Kelly on October 13th, 1918 in Verdun. Brosnan on October 14th at Argonon. And Grabowski mortally wounded on October 15th at St. Malo. Each of them is memorialized elsewhere in Worcester. And just beyond the memorial stretches a grove of trees originally dedicated in 1928, 10 years after the war, in honor of our fallen soldiers. Over the years, many of the trees were lost to disease and storms. New ones have been planted in their place, and as the seasons turn, many of them now barren of leaves, but they stand as if watch over Worcester's heroes. These men and women are gone, but they will never be forgotten. Their service to our country will always be remembered, and the sting of loss borne by their families and loved ones will always be in our hearts and our minds. The ultimate sacrifices paid will stand forever as a lasting testimony to the willingness of so many people to defend the ideals of freedom and liberty for all, whether on our soil or abroad. Sacrifice. We have heard that word a lot recently as this nation and all of us here in the city of Worcester adjust to a life in the middle of a global pandemic. COVID-19 has claimed the lives of more than 1 million people worldwide, including more than 10,000 people here in Massachusetts. And of those, more than 300 Worcester residents. This crisis has tested our resolve and tried our patience. It has changed our ways of life, perhaps forever. In the spring of 1918, World War I was just a few months shy of entering its 4th year. American soldiers had been fighting for almost a year. The war would end just months later. When it did, more than 53,000 U.S. soldiers would have died of combat wounds. What no one could have known when they entered the war in April of 1917 is that about 45,000 American soldiers would be claimed not by mortar shell or flamethrower or by chemical weapons or machine gun fire. While the U.S. and its allies fought a dangerous enemy, another, this one silent and invisible, opportunistic, proved even deadlier. The Spanish influenza broke out in April 1918. A second wave struck in September of that year, emerging not far from here at Camp Devens. The virus had a devastating impact on Worcester, whose hospitals became overfilled with patients. When it was over, the city reported 6,884 cases and 1,294 deaths, a number that was likely higher. Sergeant Leonard Haskin, whose name you'll find at the Worcester Memorial Auditorium, was among those casualties. His unit was never deployed to Europe. The youngest of 3 children, he died here in Worcester on October 8, 1918, a victim of the flu. It was a month before his 24th birthday and just 33 days before the end of the war. Anson Hathaway, another. He was an engineer who helped build the first airplane ever manufactured in Worcester. Hathaway became an officer in the 544th Engineer Service Battalion, an African-American unit, and died of influenza in 1918 while leading training for a newly raised unit. As I stand here today in a city and a country marked by their resilience, I am humbled by the sheer magnitude of the loss that took place more than a century ago. I am equally inspired because I know we can overcome whatever obstacles are placed in front of us. We only have to follow the examples of the men and women during World War I, whether overseas through the actions of soldiers in combat or on the home front, with many more hoping to join the war effort. America's spirit was on full display. In Worcester, as we always have done, we pulled together. Women, many of them left alone as the men went off to fight, served as telephone operators and nurses. They took on untraditional roles in the workplace. Many colleges, religious institutions, and many different groups and organizations all helped step up in support of our troops. Worcester had women overseas as well, women like Irene and Gladys McInerney, 2 sisters who baked donuts and pies for soldiers on the Western Front. Worcester is the heart of the Commonwealth. We are showing it now during our own crisis, just as we put it on display in World War I. Most of the men and women who left Worcester to serve in the war returned home. Many others did not. Warren Hubbs, a 1915 graduate of Classical High School, where he was a star athlete, was serving with the Army Air Service when he was shot down on June 26, 1918. He was awarded the Silver Star posthumously, and Hobbs Square is named in his honor. Inscribed on the monument at the foot of the path leading to Memorial Grove are these words: "But oh, for the touch of a vanished hand and the sound of a voice that is still. Let this place for all who come to feel a hand on their shoulder and a voice in their ear, and for us to whisper softly back to them to say, thank you. You did not die in vain. You will not be forgotten." Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager, for your words. We're now going to be moving to the placing of the wreaths. color guard. Now I'd like to welcome back to the podium Deacon Jack Franchi.
Let's bow our heads. Almighty and ever-living God, although this ceremony has come to an end, we pray that you will continue to bless our veterans, to bless this location for the World War I Memorial, for all our veterans living and who have passed on. Continue to bless their families and continue to hold those that have left this world in the palm of your hand. Bless them abundantly we respect them, we thank them, we honor them, we love them, we are proud of them. And we pray that you will watch over these special people and bless them with peace and happiness. In your name we pray. Amen.
And I would like to thank everyone that has made this possible, everybody here today, and the team that over the years, had a hand in making this Memorial Grove a reality today. Thank you for the Marine Corps League Color Guard and also the members of council and other representatives of our community that are here today. As many has said before, Worcester is a great community that is hugely diverse and that places high importance on service and service members across all different eras. I just wanted to, I'd be remiss to mention a couple of members of that community, and that is Mr. Stanley and Vito Filipkowskis, both nephews of Joseph Grabowski, who is here forever in this memorial and in other two memorials actually throughout the city. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. I'll leave you with these words. Veterans Day is a celebration. It's a celebration for all veterans of all eras. And as such, it is fitting that we all go out after this particular ceremony and enjoy the day. So I charge you with that today. Last but not least, I would like to have Worcester Police Officer Sean Lovely lead out the color guard as we end this ceremony.
Some other shots. I got some shots of the people's names. Okay, yeah. I did one where I'm out of focus in the photo and stuff like that. So I don't know how to see the shots you gotta do.
Hi, I'm Karen Polito, Lieutenant Governor, and it's an honor to be with our friends at the City of Worcester, as well as all of our veterans and families who we honor and celebrate with today on this beautiful day. First, let us give thanks to the Gold Star families for their sacrifices and their devotion to their loved one and to their country. I also want to thank the Blue Star families who have had loved ones go away and come home, and who may be away from them today in some places unknown around the world, serving our country and doing everything that they can do to preserve our freedoms and our liberties. I also want to thank all the men and women who wear the uniform to protect and serve us, whether they are in a part of our United States Armed Forces or they serve in the local municipality. We thank them all for what they do to protect and serve. And then finally, we are coming together and just celebrating in these very, very trying times of uncertain nature with the pandemic. And I just want to give a huge shout out to the Massachusetts National Guard. They have been a tremendous source of support to all of us. We remember back to when we came into office in 2015, and it wouldn't stop snowing in the month of February, and none of us are wishing for that kind of weather again. But you remember that the National Guard was there for us to shovel out fire hydrants, to shovel out commuter rail lines, to do everything needed to get us through that time. Well, they have been there again for all of us, whether it's going to a nursing home to administer COVID testing, or to be available to deliver meals to those individuals and families at home because of COVID, needing food and to address food insecurity. They have just been amazing at every turn, and it just reminds me today as we come together that there are these men and women out there that choose to serve, choose to wear the uniform, choose to answer the call and say yes and go to wherever that call takes them. And for that, we are grateful. And from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, from Governor Baker and our entire team, we'll continue to work with our legislative colleagues to serve the 300,000 veterans that call Massachusetts home, to make sure that they get the support, whether it's benefits for family, skills for new jobs and careers, housing to make sure that they're stable with a roof over their head. Whatever it takes. In Massachusetts, we're proud of the tradition that we have to support all of our veterans. So today, enjoy celebrating the veterans closest to you. Thank you.
Friends, today we take the time to honor those who have served our country with distinction. Their work and their sacrifices keep our nation free and safe. It has been a year of isolation and hardship for many, and many veterans also live with the scars of war as well. So today, call your veteran friends, their families, and their neighbors. Connect with them in troubled times and thank them for their dedication to our country. We are indebted to our veterans and to all those who have served their country, and to their families and loved ones, and we remember them on this Veterans Day.
I first want to thank you all for attending the ceremony at Green Hill Park, but I also want to thank the City of Worcester for allowing me the opportunity to record this and be part of this ceremony. It is an honor to be here to pay recognition to our veterans and their families for everything that they have done and all their sacrifices. And I really couldn't think of a better time to have this, as we're just getting over the most recent election. And we can all see the controversy that's taking place. But if you think about it, the fact that we have this controversy and we have the right to go and vote for individuals that we think should lead our country is really based on all the sacrifices you, our veterans, have made on our behalf. So thank you to your veterans, and it truly is an honor to be here to pay you recognition for your sacrifices.
In Flanders Fields, a poem by John McCrae. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard, amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Hi, happy Veterans Day. I'm State Representative Dan Donahue, and unfortunately, due to 2020, we can't all be together today to celebrate the tremendous sacrifice that our veterans have done and given to our country over the years. So we want to thank them all for their service, for their loyalty, and for creating the country that we live into today. So thank you so much for your service, and happy Veterans Day.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Keefe. I'm State Representative for the 15th Worcester District, and I'm really pleased to be with you today, even if it is remotely. I wanted to wish you all a happy Veterans Day and to thank all of our men and women who have served our country within the country and abroad. But more than anything, also to thank you that after your active duty, you come back and continue to serve. Whether you're a teacher, a service provider, a trainer, policeman, fire, EMT, or something completely different. Thank you for your service, and thank you for being part of our community here in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Hello, I'm David LaBeouf, State Representative for the 17th Worcester District. Happy Veterans Day, and thank you so much for all of you who have served our communities, whether it's been overseas or here at home in the Commonwealth. We really appreciate your service, especially during these trying times. We know how important it is that you've been out there, protecting our safety and protecting our freedoms. Again, happy Veterans Day.
Hi, I'm Worcester County District Attorney Joe Early Jr., and I want to thank all our veterans and their families today on November 11th, Veterans Day. We owe you so much for your sacrifices and the sacrifices of all the Gold Star families. You've given so much to this country, so much to make this country great. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. We really appreciate everything you've done for us. We just can't thank you enough.
If you are able, save them a place inside of you, and save one backward glance when you are leaving for the places they can no longer go. Be not ashamed to say you love them, though you may or may not have always. Take what they have left and what they have taught you with their dying, and keep it with your own. And in that time when men decide and feel safe to call the war insane, take one moment to embrace those gentle heroes you left behind.
This is City Councilor Mo Bergman. I want to speak to our veterans and let them all know that we appreciate your service, we're grateful for your contributions, and we're proud to call you sons and daughters of Worcester. We want to wish each and every one of you good health in the upcoming year, and also wish that you have a meaningful Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day. Thank you so much for your service and your commitment to our city and to our country. Thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for remaining steadfast, resolute in your service. I also like to take this time to acknowledge the friends and family that serve right along with you. We know that about the family time that's missed. We know about the sacrifice that you've made personally. We know that many of you have seen and unseen wounds from war and from service. And it's for all of those reasons that we honor you today on Veterans Day.
Hi, I'm City Councilor George Russell, wishing all the residents of Worcester a happy Veterans Day, and especially the families of the veterans who helped give us what we have today, which is freedom. And I want you to know that even with all this COVID stuff that's going on, the city councilors are still here for you and available for you. And if you need any help with anything, no matter what the issues are, don't hesitate to call your friends on the city council.
Hi, this is City Councilor Kate Toomey, wishing you happy Veterans Day, this 2020.
I want to thank you for all the sacrifice that you've made to serve our country in the past, and for many of you who've come back to serve our country in public safety, police, fire, EMTs, as teachers, working toward a better community for all. Thank you so very much to all of the men and women in our country who have served. Happy Veterans Day. Hopefully next year we'll be able to give each other a hug. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matt Wally. I'm the District 5 City Councilor here in the City of Worcester. Today, I'd like to thank all of our veterans for your commitment to our country. Your dedication to the ideals of America allow all of us to live in freedom. And for that, I thank you.
Heroes don't wear capes. They don't run faster than speeding light or fly above the clouds. They wear their hearts on their sleeves, shields in their wallets, citations on their walls, letters from government officials thanking them for their service and sacrifice. They have scars on their bodies and broken hearts with thoughts of yesterday. Their memories are kept in a vault, and only they have the key that unlocks it. A past is revealed with words like duty, honor, brotherhood, and country. Heroes are not invincible or immortal. They have fears like the rest of us, but just overlook them in the face of adversity. They consider their personal safety second. They save lives without thinking twice about their own. Heroes cry hard, live life fully, and love the most. They can't forget and don't want to remember. They wear the burdens of their courage on their shoulders, so heavy a load it could crumble the tallest building. We all know a hero. They are our fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives. They live among us to protect, to care for. Heroes have sacrificed plenty and get little in return. They ask for nothing. It is just in their nature to be brave, courageous, to rise to the occasion and overcome. They are the few, a race of man that is endangered, a dying breed. We must never forget them, who they are, what they have done. They are saviors of humanity, and for that we owe them a debt that could never be paid. These are the men and women whom we honor today.